I am Allie Yerby, Professional Development Coordinator at Carolinas Credit Union League. I was on the panel as a panelist last year. Well, that's loud. Um, and I'm happy to return as the moderator. I didn't come in until yesterday, so I hope you all have been enjoying the speakers. Um, and yeah, we have a wonderful panel here for you today. They've been really excited and impassioned to be vulnerable with you all, share their experiences and their insights. And so let's get started. I'd love for each of you panelists to introduce yourself and give a little bit of history on your credit union introduction. Micah, can you kick it off for us?
Sure, I'd love to. Thank you, Allie, for the opportunity. Nick, thank you for the opportunity to be able to serve on this emerging leaders panel. Just the preparation for the process has just been outstanding. To be able to serve like-minded individuals has been great. And just to be here at the conference with you all and just be in collaborative movement with people who want to do the same things that I've been has just been a great opportunity. Without further ado, I'll go ahead and start the introductions. I'm Micah Gaylord. I'm with State Employees Credit Union. I've been with the organization now 8 years. It'll be 9 years in July. It's been an amazing process for me and a journey, to say the least. I'm a native originally of Greensboro, North Carolina. I attended Wingate University right outside of Charlotte in the Monroe area. When football ended for me back in 2015, that marked the period where I had to find who I was as a man and as a person. And on that passion and in that purpose track, what I ultimately ended up finding was that I'm a person who values community. I understand that people helping people is essential. And that's what led me to the credit union movement. So when I think about 2016, when I got my start, I don't think I'll ever stop because, again, it's something that's aligned me with who I am as a man and who I desire to be as a person. And so long as the credit union movement will allow me to, I plan to be here for a long time.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Bella Caballero. I'm the Chief Operating Officer and Executive Vice President for Greensboro Credit Union. I've been in the credit union movement for a little over 7 years now, and I'm very passionate about the movement. I've been in my role as COO for almost a year now, which has been such a tremendous privilege for me. I hold a bachelor's degree in finance, which has really shaped who I am in my career. I also have a passion for volunteering. So these two things combined is just, I'm doing what I love every day, just being involved in the credit union movement. I was born and raised in Honduras, Central America, and came here 7 years ago, and then immediately started working for credit unions. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'm so excited to be here with such wonderful people.
Morning, everyone. My name is Josh Lynch, and I'm from Wilmington, North Carolina. Also a Canadian American, so if there's any Canadians in the audience, yeah. I've worked for Coastal Credit Union for just about 4 years, and it's the first credit union that I've worked at, and I've absolutely loved the experience and all the education that I've learned along the way. I got my undergrad degree from App State in beautiful Western North Carolina, and I was lucky enough to have Coastal Credit Union provide me the flexibility to pursue my master's degree. So in 2023, I graduated from Duke and have absolutely loved and appreciated the opportunity that my credit union gave me to pursue my master's degree. It's my first time at the conference, really excited. I've loved all the speakers so far, and I'm excited about this panel group. Thanks, guys.
Good morning, everyone. I am Zariah Brown. I'm very excited to be here again with you all. So I am the talent acquisition specialist at Rev Federal Credit Union. I've been in the credit union industry about 3.5 years now. I'm originally from Gaffney, South Carolina. I received both of my degrees from the University of South Carolina in Columbia. Go Cox. I am very passionate about attracting and retaining the top talent at Rev, and I am very passionate also about serving my own personal members, which are the employees at Rev Federal Credit Union. Again, I'm very excited to be with you all today and just to be with my fellow panelists.
Good morning. I'm Chelsea Newton with Sparrow Financial. I have been in the financial industry for 13 years. 5 of those have been in the credit union space. In 2020, I said, why not change where I'm working at a time of uncertainty? And I decided to check out the credit union world. I wanted something that was a little bit more community focused, and the credit union absolutely answered that call. I am very passionate about empowering others to overcome their financial challenges, and serving the community is at the heart of everything that I do. I'm very excited to be here and excited for you all to hear what we have to share.
Awesome. Well, it's great to meet you all and to learn about your history and beginnings here in the credit union world. I'm really excited about your diverse experiences and perspectives that you bring. Moving right along, I'd like to jump headfirst into our first hot topic. As a young professional, emerging leader, and credit union employee, what do you think are the benefits of an organization's focus on emerging leaders? Perla, as a now and newer COO, what is your take on this?
My takeoff is long-term sustainability, right? Credit unions keep disappearing and keep being acquired by larger credit unions, like especially small credit unions. We need to build a strong leadership pipeline for the future, and that's where young professionals come in place. You can cultivate fresh perspective, innovative ideas, but just having somebody that knows what the younger generation of credit union members need.
I shared with the panel as we were preparing a lot of our answers are cohesive in nature. And I think that just shows that we're on one accord. When I think about the question, Allie, I love it because an organization's focus shows a direct idea that they want to identify the high potential employees, right? I love the way that our CEO, Lee Brady, mentions it. She says, I'm not going to be around much longer. Right. And so in order to make sure that SECU can continue and that credit unions can continue, the focus on emerging leaders is allowing us to be able to perform what we call succession planning. Right. So we talk about that sustainability. How can we make sure that we continue to establish and create and cultivate and continue this lab of difference making? We do so by developing the bench talent, quote unquote, or those who are waiting in line to be next up. So I think, again, understanding that the fresh perspective is very key. That we do bring innovative ideas, that we do bring things that may not have otherwise been seen before. And then again, it just comes down to retention. We are an emerging leaders group that unfortunately we won't sit around and wait 30 years before we can get where it is we desire to go. And young people now that are entering the workforce want places that speak to what it is they desire to do, speak to who they are as people and give them the opportunities to get where they desire to go. And they don't want to wait for it. I know that Linda mentioned yesterday, the journey's hard, but it's worth it. At the end of the day, we have to also make sure that in that process, we're pouring into our young leaders as well.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And there's a lot of stock in taking a holistic approach, making sure to view the entire picture for the success of our credit unions. You've both mentioned retention as the benefit of investment in emerging leaders, which takes us to our next question. Chelsea, I'll kick it off to you first. What then can credit unions do to attract and retain our young professionals?
When we talk about attracting and retaining young professionals, I get really excited because I've experienced firsthand what makes us special. It's not just about transactions. It's something much deeper, right? Credit unions, we love our community. We encourage you to get out and we encourage learning from other credit unions. This panel is the perfect example of that. You don't get that anywhere else. That's truly unique, and that's what makes this working environment extremely appealing. And so these strong connections, they open up opportunities. CUDE, we talked about it yesterday. GAC, the mentorship program. These are great opportunities that you don't get to experience anywhere else. And you find that in the credit union space. So just by being who we are, neighborly, that sense of community, we're naturally attracting young professionals. And that career path, or our career paths here, have so much potential.
Thank you.
I kind of look at this like it has 3 pillars. There's the leadership, learning, and growth. And I think a lot of organizations, when they're looking at this question, what can we do to attract and retain young professionals? They get the attract part, but the retain is something that's often forgot. And I think it's the most important because, as we know, it costs an organization a lot more to hire a new employee than to keep an existing one happy and to keep somebody passionate about the movement. So when I'm looking at the pillars of opportunities, leadership, learning, and growth, what does that mean to you? You don't need to be in a manager role to be a leader. And is your organization providing a seat at the table and your voice being heard? And then growth is, are they giving you that career path? Do you know what the next step is? You shouldn't be in a role and just saying, okay, this is the top. I can't do anything else. Maybe that's a step to the side. Maybe that's a step diagonally. But I think being able to see that ladder is really important to young professionals and pretty much anyone at a credit union.
I think as leaders, personally, I have a big focus on retain, right? A big thing for me is investing in tools and systems that align with young professionals' expectations. I cannot highlight how important this is. We can't have young professionals working in the credit unions when computers don't work, when systems don't work. So that is just a huge part of my role as a CEO, just making sure that we're investing on systems that align with young professionals' expectations. And also, young professionals seek meaningful work. So emphasize the credit union mission of people helping people, provide with volunteering opportunities for all of us who are seeking meaningful work every day.
Pearl, I love that you mentioned we seek meaningful work. I'd even take that a step further. We also seek meaningful development. And when I say that, we seek meaningful development from a holistic standpoint. So we don't want to just be better people on the job, right? We want to be better people when we walk outside of the four walls in which we operate on a day-to-day basis. So when I think about the young people who are entering our workforce now, they want to be better husbands, fathers, mothers, wives, sisters, brothers, friends, right? We want to be better all around holistically. So to answer the question, you've got to cultivate those atmospheres and environments that allow for these individuals to get that, right? We don't want to just be the individuals who come in and work for a paycheck, right? We want to be better people when we walk out the four walls, right? So the credit union can directly contribute to us being better people when we leave. And so now when you do that, you've got happy employees who are happy about working, which now leads to better member service, which now leads to a movement that is able to continue for years and years to come. So you got to think about the holistic development.
And to kind of piggyback off what everyone else said, I think from a talent acquisition perspective, we have to educate that talent that's coming in. So when I'm doing an interview with a candidate, I'm always thinking about like, hey, do you know this about the credit union? Do you know about the people helping people philosophy? Do you know what we do in the community? And they're taken back. And for me, it's like, I got them. Because it's not just the money or the benefits. They want to know, what are you doing to make this world a better place? What are you doing for my community? So I think you start first with that education. And then once you get them in the door, you go ahead and offer those mentorship programs. You offer those career advancement opportunities. You invest in them and show them, hey, we're all about continuous learning because that's how we got you in the first place, through education. And I think in turn, you will get that lifelong commitment, or, maybe those 30 years. So I think, again, education and just building upon that is what can bring in the right talent.
Absolutely. You make a great point in saying that our new talent really needs to know and understand the credit union difference, as well as the values of their respective credit union. You all share some really great insights, tools, and recommendations to do that. Chelsea, you mentioned that credit unions can retain young professionals by creating an appealing and fulfilling work environment. I think for our current leaders to create these fulfilling work environments, they really need to understand what makes the work fulfilling and inviting. And likely we all have different variations of this answer, so I'll go ahead and ask all of you. What values and opportunities matter most to young and emerging leaders? Josh?
So for me, working every day and coming home and feeling fulfilled is number one. I think as somebody who works kind of in the back office, I work on the technical side. So my members work for the credit union. I don't get to speak to members every day. So getting that fulfillment is something that's very important to me. One thing that my credit union does is every month we share the stories from the members and communities that we impact around the Raleigh area and statewide. And just being able to hear those and knowing that what I've done, even if it is in the back end, it has a huge impact to our members and our community. So really feeling fulfilled every day is number one. And I think the second most important thing for me, and I think a lot of you guys would agree, is in your career, you don't feel stuck. You don't feel like there's no movement. And I think it's up to leaders at the credit union to make sure that we all feel like there's growth opportunity within our position.
Yeah, so to think about this question, I think that young and emerging leaders really value opportunities that promote personal growth, a continuous learning type of mindset, being able to make an impact. I think that they're attracted to environments that really promote collaboration, innovation, and being able to come to the table and give your input and it be valued, to be able to make an impact, to be able to have work that's purposeful. So I think that, you want to make sure that you are also providing a work-life balance. You're providing flexibility. You're allowing your employees to be a whole person. So, I think those are really those key factors.
Okay.
So fundamentally, right, when you think about us as humans, we're human beings and not human doings, right? So I think ultimately what you've got to understand is that there's got to be a level of flexibility that we're seeking when it comes to the workplace, right? So individuals want the opportunity to be with their families and be with their, loved ones and spend the time, with whatever those four margins are. Like Linda talked about yesterday, we have to make sure that they have that flexibility. Otherwise, they're going to be turned off soon. Then there's got to be upward mobility, right? So not that you have to give me the promotion right away, not that we have to get to the bag right now, right? But just tell me what the plan is to get me there, right? Tell me that you have a meaningful path for me to get there. Show me how I can get there. Show me what your plan is to invest in me. Right. That's all we really want. So at the end of the day, if we can provide the flexibility, the upward mobility and give us the opportunity for that community and belonging, this is the generation that values people who are on the same mindset with them. What I love about the credit union movement is our ability to amplify whatever the message is. Right. So there's the element of social responsibility that comes in as well. We talked about those development issues. We have the ability and a platform to use our collaborative measures to come together, right, and amplify a message. That's what the people who are entering the workforce desire these days. They want to be on one accord with like-minded people. And that's what's so powerful about the credit union movement. It affords us emerging leaders that opportunity to do just that.
Adding more to what Micah said about belonging and what Zariah said about purpose-driven work, young professionals, we seek inclusive workplaces that make us feel valued and respected and empowered to share our unique perspectives. And, we're increasingly aware of social and environmental issues, and we're in an era where integrity is really important to us. And so we want to align ourselves with organizations that uphold those standards, right? Not just for the members that we serve, but also the team members, right? And so, yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah, growth and development is so important, right? Work environments that embrace innovation. Young professionals seek opportunities to perhaps shadow other departments so they're not stuck doing the same repetitive work over and over, because that monotony can cause for young professional within the credit union industry to just seek another company or perhaps another role. So that's very, very important. Just having also an inclusive work environment where everybody feels welcome, regardless of their skin color or race. That is so important. Also, given the opportunity to participate in different programs that credit unions have, that is so, and I encourage each one and every young professional that's in this room to look for the league's webinars because they are just absolutely amazing, to participate in different programs like CUXL. Personally, I think I participated with Zariah. It was such an amazing opportunity, and you make meaningful connections that just keep the fuel, the passion going on for the credit union movement. And that is what got me into Crash the GAC. And that just opened my mind to so much. Like there is so much opportunity and there is so much work that needs to be done within the industry. So, those that values and those opportunities are so important when for these young professionals in this industry.
Thank you. So, in summary, it's purpose, impact, belonging, mobility, and development. Overall, powerful values to seek as a rising leader. Micah, you are a CXL ambassador. Can you share with us some of the opportunities that are out there that our leaders and even our peers can support and encourage us to engage with?
Absolutely. I mean, I'll keep it as brief as possible. You started with CUXL. That's one of the things I would encourage every emerging leader in this room. If you have a passion for the emerging leader movement, if you have a passion for young professionals and developing young professionals, if you aspire to have that community, plug in with us at the CUXL network. We are essentially the boots on the ground for what the young people are looking for in this movement, in this industry. We provide a collaborative environment for individuals to become able to share. We have safe spaces, listening sessions. We get professional development. Then with that, you obviously get the conferences, things like you're sitting at here today. You get the stuff that the league offers. We'll talk about Protege here soon. Lauren Whaley and her team offer that PMP conference. You think about things like CUDE, all of the different opportunities in that roadmap for professional development that you've seen. A lot of that comes from the exposure and the networking opportunities that you're getting in rooms like this today. So I would just encourage you to count it all joy that you're here and then understand that this is an opportunity and a place for you to be able to come and develop, right? Don't just sit here and take up space, right? Sit here and get something from it, right? Connect with the people who are in places that you desire to be. And that provides you with, being able to put your feet and name in rooms that they otherwise may not have been in, should you have not stepped outside of the four walls of your organization.
Yeah, thank you. So you mentioned Protege, and a few of you on the panel here today have participated in the Protege competition. Perla, I'll start with you. Can you expand on your Protege experiences and its importance in your career path?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a wonderful experience. And the fact that my credit union gave me the opportunity to participate is just invaluable. And this is pretty much what kicked off my career. And after I did the CXL Protege competition, I was able to crash the DAC. After I came back from that, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. As young professionals, we sometimes struggle. Yes, I love being in credit unions and I love working for a credit union, but I don't know what I see myself doing long term. And that is the situation where I was at. As soon as I came back, I knew exactly what I wanted to do and what was my end goal in this industry. So this is why these opportunities are so, so important because they give you a sense of purpose and they also help you figure out what is your end goal and what do you want to do long term and how do you see yourself staying within the credit union industry on the long run.
Yeah, so I participated in the Protege competition about 2 years ago, and it was an amazing opportunity. When I was approached about Protege, I had been with Rev for less than a year, so I was like, really? But just do it. And so I was able to talk about a topic that I'm very passionate about, which is social media and how to reach the next generation of members and teaching them more about financial education. And what I love about Protege is even though you're young, you're the subject matter expert on that topic. No one can tell you anything about it. That's your baby, essentially. And as a result of Protege, I was able to network more, learn more about the credit union, get involved with the Low Country chapter, be involved with a lot of events and moving the chapter forward. So if your leadership is approaching you about Protege, take advantage, do it. You'll meet amazing people as I have, and you'll get the opportunity to grow, develop, and I don't know, even get better experiences when it comes to the development of your career.
that protege, I mean, that's one of the things that's like near and dear to my heart. I mean, the running joke on the CU Excel Council is like that's Micah's baby. But I love it, and everybody asks, why do you love it so much? You've never won, right? So I've competed. Right. And so, and I've actually never competed at lunch. So, full transparency. So I competed twice in my organization internally. And we got rock stars at our organization. Angela and I have competed multiple times. And I've never actually won for SECU to represent us at launch. But that's where the turning point in my career happened, when I was able to make the shift from understanding that it's not about winning and losing, but instead it's more so a platform to speak that which flows from your heart unapologetically in front of people that you otherwise may not have been exposed to or gotten an opportunity to at this point of my career. And so when you think about winning and losing, it's all subjective when it deals with a human making a decision on who wins. But when you're speaking from the heart and you get that platform and that opportunity, that's where the fulfillment comes in, right? So what I had to ultimately understand was there's actually victory in defeat, right? Because I ended up being defeated, doors of opportunity were able to open up for me. That's how I met Allie in the network. Because I lost, I was able to still go to the Emerging Leaders Workshop and connect with like-minded people, right? And that's because I lost, I was able to still speak at the CU Excel Emerging Leaders Roundtable in October that year in Greenville. Because I lost, CUDE opportunity came across my desk. I jumped on it right away. Because I lost at one of those conferences I spoke at, Lauren Whaley was in the room, and I got the opportunity now to be able to go and PMP and be a table mentor. So again, understand that it's so much more than just winning and losing, right? Sometimes allowing people to see you in that kind of space, see you in that light, right, opens up so many more doors of opportunity. So I think the concern for a lot of young professionals is, I don't want to put myself out there, make myself look bad, and then I'll lose. No, be scared and do it anyway, right? Because when you do that, when you have that faith, when you're bold and you're courageous, people can see that light in you, right? And put you in places that you desire to be, that you otherwise may not have thought were for you. So again, understand that it's so much bigger than that, and that there's victory in the defeat. So when, again, everybody asks me, I'm like, well, hey, I actually lost twice. But again, there's so much victory that can come from a defeat if you look at it the right way. That's why I love the protege process.
Thank you, Micah. It's also important in terms of protege to point out that if protege really at the end of the day is not for you, or you've competed and now you're past that, or it's just past your time, if you catch my drift, that really, it's still on you to be the champion of that experience. It's still on you to be the support system for that experience. Identify your staff, identify your peers, support them in that endeavor, and give them that push to do that competition or do any other experience that can help them develop and grow in their career, because that's really what it takes. It does take a village. It does take a village of support and empowerment to grow and develop in these areas. So we'll move on. How can a young professional become more involved in the credit union movement if they don't know where to start? Chelsea?
There are a ton of opportunities to get involved, so many so that it can be a little overwhelming. And so I'm just going to tell you about my story. When I came into the credit union space, I found myself on the league's website and I created a profile, and I noticed that credit unions have these wonderful opportunities to connect called chapter meetings. So I asked my friend, I said, hey, what are these chapter meetings about? And she said, hey, these are great opportunities for you to connect with team members outside of work, connect with other credit unions in the upstate, and also learn a little bit more about what credit unions are. And I was like, great, sign me up. I want to be there. From there, I realized it might be a little beneficial if I take advantage of social media and get on LinkedIn. And so I've been really active on LinkedIn, and that helps me whenever I do network, because I can say, oh, hey, I just realized you celebrated 5 years at Sparrow. That's awesome. How are you liking it? Or, talk about other events. And then from there, if you're like me and you want to take it a step further, you want to connect with your community outside the credit union space, your local chamber is an awesome opportunity. You can connect with other people in the areas that you serve. You can learn about other individuals who are in the financial sector. And it's a great opportunity for you to share the credit union story. That's a wonderful place to do it because not very many people know about the story. So why not start there?
I love that because there are so many different ways to get involved, and you can ask 2 different people at the same credit union and they will have 2 different answers. I think a lot of credit unions are really proud of what they've done and how to get involved. So just checking on your company's website, I think you'd be surprised at just how impactful they are and how many opportunities there are that most employees don't even know about. So I was lucky enough to actually find a mentor pretty early on at Coastal, and somebody who was really involved with the community, with our volunteer events, involved with the league. And so, you know, through him, I was able to get involved with committees at volunteering events. And now I actually help teach financial literacy at middle schools around Raleigh. And it was a kind of a full circle moment for me about 2 months ago when I taught kids at the middle school that I actually went to. And nothing has changed. Those were still the same TVs on the wall. It was the same paint color. But it was a great opportunity. The kids got so much from it, and it's my way of getting involved with the community and the movement.
Sometimes that can be scary, right? Getting involved and just being out there. That was a challenge for me because I'm a introvert, extrovert person. Like I'm right in between. So sometimes just being out there and connecting people can be like socially exhausting for me. So early on in my career, when I started at Coastal, one of the things that I did is I joined the DEI committee, and I was able to connect with individuals that shared my passion for DEI. And I found a group of people that I was so comfortable with, which then that turned into somebody from there invited me to a chapter meeting, and then, you know, the rest is history. So finding a group of people that you're comfortable with, is so beneficial to be more involved in the movement, and also to help you excel in your current role, because that person may know something and may be able to help you in your current role, to be the best at what you do. Um, some credit unions too also have ERGs, employee resource groups. I think those are fantastic and those are amazing if you're looking for a specific group of individuals that you would like to connect with. Um, that is a great resource if you don't know where to start.
Absolutely. Thank you. So it sounds like there really are some great opportunities and ways for young professionals to become involved and engaged in, not only their careers, but with the credit union movement as a whole. This connects to your earlier sentiments about a fulfilling workplace and also credit union sustainability. We'd be remiss, however, not to talk about the flip side, the dark side, if you will, that we face challenges. Young professionals face challenges. They have a lot to lift through their early careers. And we can agree, or I think we can all agree, that there are times when we may walk into a room or a situation and we're met with adversity of some kind. And those people who are introducing that adversity may just not know who we are and what we're capable of bringing to the table. So, could you share your thoughts on the challenges that emerging leaders face and how these challenges might have an impact on your career paths?
Yeah, so I think that young professionals face the obvious challenge of being young, so age. So you have more seasoned professionals who may look at us and say, well, you don't have the experience required to move up in the organization, or your input is not valuable when it comes to this project or whatever is going on within the credit union. So of course, that can affect our confidence, that can affect our growth, and just even having the motivation to even come into work. I think another challenge that we have is that lack of inclusivity. So when you look at people in leadership roles that don't look like you, as a young professional, you feel like I'm underrepresented. And so sometimes you feel like, well, if I don't see anyone that looks like me in a leadership role, how is it possible for me to move up in the credit union industry? Again, your confidence is low and you feel like it's a dead end. And then you're ready to look for something else. So I think that credit unions have to buckle up and be ready to combat this by, giving those mentorship opportunities, getting young professionals involved, and really putting ourselves out there and being credit unions that's all about equity and inclusion.
When I think of equity and inclusion, I also think, and I completely agree with what Soraya said about age being a huge factor with young professionals. It's obvious, and we try to ignore that it's a factor in decisions made by credit union leadership, but it is, and it affects us all. I think everyone in this room, when they were starting out career-wise, had considered maybe I don't have the confidence to speak up. Maybe I shouldn't be in this room. Yeah, so age for me is a it's a huge factor and a challenge that young professionals face. And I think that a good problem to have, which a lot of credit unions face, is that they have very tenured employees. I think a lot of my credit union has been there 20 to 30 years. And I think there's people in this room absolutely that have, tenured at their credit union. But we cannot ignore that this is a challenge that young professionals face when they're entering that credit union and they're sitting at the same table, they're playing on the same field as these very tenured professionals. We have to address it, give them the space to speak, to lead, and opportunities to grow despite their age.
Ali, I'm so glad the question came in the month of May. So May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And if you don't know anything about me, one of the things that I am passionate about is mental health. As someone who struggled silently for years, not being able to speak about the things that plagued me and bothered me internally, to be able to answer this question on such a day in front of a group like you all, is just full circle moment for me because I don't know that I would have ever had the strength to do so and answer the way I'm going to answer. So when I think about one of the struggles, I think one of the struggles is mental health. Specifically for emerging leaders. And I don't think we discuss it and or talk about it enough, right? Because it's one of those things we like to keep silent and not share, right? But when I think about mental health and I think about how it ties into societal pressures, I think that's one of the struggles, right? So when you think outside of work, right, social media is one of the things that allows us to be able to see the highlights of somebody's life. And whether we realize it or not, you actually take those highlights and compare it to how you're doing in life, and you may feel like you're not where you need to be in your journey. And whether we realize that or not, we do that all too often in the professional space. When we were preparing for this, I got so excited. I said, somebody may see Perla, right, and see that she's a COO. But if you're like me, I'm ready to bounce off the wall and be excited for her, right? Because just because it's not my turn, I still want to clap for everybody. But what about the person who sees that and says, well, why am I not there yet? Or why am I not where I desire to be professionally? Am I not good enough? Have I not done what I needed to do to be able to get to that point? And so I don't think that we discussed that on this journey, right? The mental health aspect is one of the things that you really fall victim to, that we don't combat enough, right? So my encouragement is for you to run your own race, right? And though the vision for your life may tarry, understand that it will come to pass. You just have to trust and believe that it will happen when it's supposed to, and trust the process, right? But in the meantime, take care of your mental because without your mental, you have nothing. So again, I just want that to be a conversation that we have more of. Thank you, Ali, for the question and providing the space for us to do so. But we don't have to be reactive when it comes to mental health. It's time to be proactive and have those conversations that if you are struggling, understand that you do have somebody you can talk to, somebody you can empathize with you, somebody who can really walk in those shoes that you're going through and is willing to sit there and go through that with you. We don't always have to have every answer. Sometimes we just need a space to be able to have somebody listen to us. So understand you're not alone. We see you, we value you, and we appreciate you. But understand your mental health is important.
That was such a great answer, wasn't it? Yes, I would definitely have to agree with all my fellow panelists, age. And just to share something that is just very personal to me, I would go into these conferences, especially in my new role, and then congratulations. How old are you? And it's like I felt like afraid to tell people what my age was because I was afraid that it would give the impression that how is she in this role? Does she know what she's doing? So that was a challenge and a struggle for me to overcome. But I have a great group of fellow COOs and CEOs that support me. And I don't have to be afraid to let people know what my age is because I remind myself of my hard work, my struggles to get to this point. Age is a big challenge, just and mental health too, because that kind of just messes up with you saying are people going to think that I don't really know what I'm doing? How did I manage to get this role? But we have to kind of trust ourselves and trust our journey and know and understand that we do deserve a seat on the table. We do deserve to represent the young professionals in this industry.
Thank you. Your perspectives and experiences in this are quite eye-opening. All these pressures and perceived notions are often also what leads to a common experience known as imposter syndrome. Chelsea, I'm going to start this question with you. Can you discuss how imposter syndrome has impacted your journey and the steps you've taken to overcome it and build confidence?
Absolutely. I love that this question is asked because this is in the CUXL Council, we actually listened to a podcast on imposter syndrome. So I love that this is one of the questions that we're answering today. I often wish that I had a bouncer for my brain. I struggle with all these negative self-talks, like I'm not good enough for this, and after listening to the podcast, they made a great point. Even the most successful individuals experience these moments of self-doubt, and so I like to look at my mistakes as learning opportunities. I love feedback. I want to know what I can do better because I want to be better. I also like to think that this isn't the getting better. It's not a destination. Overcoming imposter syndrome is not a destination. It's a journey. And you got to have all these things. You got to have a group, a good community, a team, right? A team. I know I've called on Micah a couple times, even before we get up here. He was like, Chelsea, strike your power pose. Like, you got this. And so you got to have a community, I think my poor husband, he's sitting here with us today. He's probably tired of hearing these questions, but he had to hype me up for this moment, and it's important. And this is your recipe for success. This is your recipe to overcome these things. And you got to be comfortable. You got to be confident. You got to have that great support system.
Well, ditto. So, imposter syndrome and myself, we be locked in. I'm not gonna lie to you all, especially when I came into the credit union industry. I often question myself, like, am I doing the right thing? Does it matter that I have an education? Does it matter that I've been in HR for all these years because this is new for me? But I'm also somebody that I go for feedback. I would just walk into my manager's office and be like, so what am I doing? Do you think I'm doing okay? What am I doing wrong? What are my strengths? Where are my areas of opportunity? Like Chelsea said, don't be afraid of that feedback. Like, just take it and make the adjustments. I think that it's also important for you to just say, like, hey, it's okay for me to question myself every now and again. That's good for me to grow, but then continue to build that confidence every day. And personally, for me, all I have to do is turn on some Beyonce and there's nothing that I can't do. So, find whoever it is for you. It could be Beyonce or whoever else. But for me, once I turn her on, I'm a force to be reckoned with.
Got those margins right to keep us bounded, right? So that's good. That's good. That's good. I think when you think about imposter syndrome, I've actually experienced it on both hands. So I take you initially into my leadership journey. When I got my first branch location that I was able to manage, I will never forget that I was the second youngest one on a staff of 10. So I'm leading individuals who are now older than me, right? And so initially you think like, wow, like, are they going to respect me? Like, are they going to, want to like work for me? Like, or do they want to be led by me? Like, how do they feel? Like, well, what if somebody else apply for this role at my location? How does that feel? And then I think back to my first leadership meeting. I had been in the role 2 weeks and I'm in the room with somebody partnered up and they're 40 years in the organization. And so you're sitting there and you're just like, am I supposed to be here? Is this where I'm supposed to be? I don't know that I feel good enough. Like, all of these thoughts start to run through your head, right? And I think we heard it best yesterday, like, you are where you are for a reason, right? And so on the flip side of that, I've taken that and said, now this is where I am supposed to be, right? It's now actually the imposter syndrome that has turned into the fuel of my fire, right? So it's what keeps me going. I know how faithful I've been to the process. I know how honest I've been with every step of the way. I know that every day I've put all my chips in. I've given everything I had to the organization, to the movement. And you start to believe that and you start to trust that, right? And so ultimately at the end of the day, I know that I was made for a time such as this. So I have to remind myself, like, hey, like, you are supposed to be here. This is your life's work. This is your calling. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing, right? So it's one of those things that now when I think about it, we think about, imposter syndrome and being locked in. I don't know that I ever want it to go away because I think it's actually making me and shaping me into the man that I desire to be professionally and personally. And I think that is what's going to always keep me from being content. So I actually love imposter syndrome now that I've been able to reframe my thinking as the podcast told us to do. And it's actually one of those things like I appreciate the feeling now because it reminds me, all right, it's time to go a little harder now. Okay. So I love imposter syndrome. I think it's a great thing. I think the idea of reframing your thinking can help us navigate through that a little bit better. And not always looking at the negative, but understand that maybe there's a lesson in this, and it can actually be a blessing. So.
Yeah, I also love this question because I think imposter syndrome is something that everyone in this room has dealt with at some point, or if not, currently going through it. It's leading people that might be younger than you. It's sitting at the table with colleagues that have decades more experience than you. When I started at Coastal, I was the youngest person on my team by I think 20 years. And just getting over that hump, getting my mental state around that fact was something that I had to work towards. And it's a process. Like Chelsea said, it's the journey, it's not the destination. And I think Linda said it really well yesterday with her son at the country club. And he said, I don't think I belong here. Yes, you do. You were invited. So we all work for our organizations. We belong. We are where we need to be at our organizations at this point in time. And it's something that we mitigate. Imposter syndrome is here to stay. It's not going away. It's how we deal with it. It's the journey. It's how we mitigate, go day to day, and build confidence in rooms that normally we wouldn't. But when you're sitting next to somebody with decades more experience and it's your time to talk, grab the microphone because your voice has value.
Those are such incredible answers. Um, we do all struggle with imposter syndrome, right? And then when I think about my journey, I was born and raised in a small town in Honduras, Central America. I grew up speaking Spanish. English is my second language. So just being right here, just speaking in public, it's not an easy thing to do for me because I'm translating every single thing in my brain. Um, I went to school over there. My educational background is over there. So I had to come here and learn all the financial system because it's completely different. And yes, sometimes imposter syndrome gets the best of me because I'm like, do I have enough knowledge to be in the role that I am at the moment? But getting to the point to understand that that is not necessarily a bad thing. And be proud of your heritage, be proud of your journey. Remind yourself of your journey, your hard work, your sacrifices is so important. And to overcome it, build confidence, your support system is so important. I remember coming here 2 months later, I went into an interview at Latino Credit Union, and Sylvia interviewed me for a member service representative position. Went to the interview, I got the role and started working there for a couple years. Recently, she became the COO over at Inclusive. And she reached out to me immediately. And that was like a full circle moment because we are now sharing a title. And she reached out to me and she was like, I'm here to help anything you need. So, and she told me, I always knew that you would be able to overcome anything that got in your way and you would be able to make such an impact in the communities because you're so passionate about this movement. So that was such a full circle moment. Imposter syndrome, we all have imposter syndrome, but it comes to the point, am I going to let this define me? Or am I going to figure out ways? Am I going to rely into my support system to overcome this? I have my sister here supporting me. She is like my biggest advocate of like everybody. Yeah. And she's always telling me how proud she is of me. And I try to do the same thing for her. She may not necessarily be in the credit union industry or the credit union movement, but I know that have to be in this industry to struggle with imposter syndrome. Anybody at any job can struggle with that. So just rely on your support system. Just know that there are people out there rooting for you and advocating for you and just celebrating your wins with you. Thank you.
Absolutely. I appreciate the points you all. Sure. I appreciate the points you all have made about using those feelings of imposter syndrome as a tool to dig in and step out of your comfort zone. It's a powerful mindset and a great attitude to have towards something that isn't always easy to combat. Perla, I'll go back to what you mentioned about your support system and having them help you celebrate your wins. After acknowledging the young professionals' struggles both outwardly and inwardly, I think it's important to recognize that young professionals are not alone in this journey and also raise awareness of how organizational leaders can help in mitigating these issues. What are some ways that emerging leaders can foster support from their leadership to become the best professional possible, excel in these opportunities, and achieve professional growth? Perla, especially as a COO, how can our leaders help us obtain these goals?
When I think about this from a leadership standpoint, right? Be the best mentor possible for your team. I could not express this enough, right? And thinking about it from when I wasn't on a leadership role, I was always the nosy one. I was always the one that was asking, hey, can I do this? I was always the one being proactive and just curious to learn new things because knowledge is power. It can help you so much in so many steps of your career. But now on this role, I love when somebody comes to me and asks me, hey, do you need help with anything? Because most of our leaders can be overwhelmed sometimes. Like I know, especially for me, working at a small credit union, I wear many, many, many hats. So when somebody approaches me and this, do you need any help? I get so excited because I am excited about sharing everything I know and just be the best mentor that I can be. Not for only for young professionals, but for anybody, for that matter. So I think that that can help that person develop professionally and learn new things, learn new skills, and also, more importantly, figure out what they want to do long term to ensure that going back to that credit union long-term sustainability. Because if you have people working in the industry with no purpose, just doing a job, then we run into the issue that we're seeing right now, a lot of small credit unions disappearing, a lot of mergers happening. And we don't want that to happen. Be the best mentor you can be. Share your knowledge. Make time. This is so important. Make time. Sometimes as leaders, we're like, well, I just have so much to do and I have trust your team, delegate as much as you can, make time to teach new things because there are young professionals, there are people out there that are just hungry for knowledge and they want to learn these skills. So yeah, that would be my answer. I'm all about helping people grow and just share every bit of that I know and just do the same thing that others did for me when I was going through this journey.
Ali, as I answer it, I want to, in front of the room, publicly give you your flowers for the way that, as the individual who's over professional development of CU Excel, you're very intentional about making sure that we have the rooms and/or spaces to develop the way that we need to. I think that so that you need to be told, job well done. And it ties into my answer because I think back to the time where you brought in Lauren Cole, who at the time was with CU Insight, serving as their CEO. She's now with the National Credit Union Foundation. But when she came in and she shared with us, we were talking about climbing your career mountain. And she shared two things with me that I think will never leave from me professionally. One of them was first saying yes to opportunity. When you are presented with an opportunity from leadership, so long as you have the bandwidth and capacity, make sure that you are the individual who is known to say yes. That doesn't mean run your well dry. That doesn't mean empty your cup out completely, which I'll talk about here soon. But again, so long as you have the bandwidth and the availability, make sure that you are saying yes to opportunity. The other thing, I think it's kind of been funny around my organization. I've turned into what's called a respectful pest. That's what she's essentially told us to do. So I've started to research opportunities and or development ways that I can be better as a professional. And so what I've done now is gone to my leadership in the organization and advocated for myself. So in that respectful pest mindset, I'm not just saying, hey, I would like to go here. What I'm also doing is offering the return on investment to you by telling you why it's beneficial for you to send me, right? This is what I can do better for the organization. This is what I'll bring back to the team. This is how I can make your job easier as my leader. This is why you should pick me. So an investment in me is an investment in not only the bottom line, like we talked about yesterday, that the leadership has to look at, but it's an investment in your member service, and it's investment in the growth in your community, investment in the growth of your organization. So an investment, advocating for yourself. So respectful pests, saying yes to opportunity. And then one of the things that we can do is just cleaving to the right people. The last thing that I will mention about my leadership journey, I will never forget when Damian Carter, he's legend in our organization, he walked into my office on like my second or third day working there. And I immediately told my leader, I want to be like him. There was this aura, there was this glow about him. There was this way that he carried himself in such a way that I wanted to be like him. And from that day on, I tried to do everything I could to make sure I was cleaving to the people I wanted to be like. So when your leaders will see you cleave to somebody who wants to be in a certain space or who is in a certain space that you desire to be, they will then try to align you with whatever you need to do to get there. And I appreciate my first VP. That's what she did. She said, well, if you want to be here, this is what you've got to do. But then he availed himself to me and his network, right? So I think about all the mentors. I was talking to Mr. Smith earlier, Damian Carter, Emma Hayes. I think back to Warren Peacock, Lee Brady, Jamie Applequist. All of those leaders now will avail themselves, and you try to cleave to those individuals and be like those individuals. When your leaders see that you have that kind of passion and or desire, right, they're more willing to pour into you, right? We have to understand that when the opportunities for development come, they have to make sure that they're sending the right people, not the people who are just going to take up space, but the people who are going to go there and shake up the room, right? The people that when they walk in, the room is going to notice who they are, right? That the people when they walk in, the room is going to say, all right, they're doing something right over there at State Employees Credit Union. They're doing something right over there at SRP. They're doing something right at, South Carolina Federal, whoever it is, right? But we have to make sure that as emerging leaders, we are presenting and or walking, right, the way that we want to be seen professionally, right? That's how your leaders will then, garner that support for you and want to send you to certain things and allow you to do certain things, such as these opportunities we're here at today.
Thank you for sharing that. You've all had thoughtful, powerful, and important insights, and it's evident that the young professional carries a significant responsibility. To wrap up our conversation today, I'd like to hit on one last hot topic. The term work-life balance has been popular for many years. However, the conversation is now shifting towards work-life integration. Could you share what work-life integration looks like for you and what approaches have helped you maintain a healthy blend of work and personal life?
Allie, I love this question, especially because of what we talked about at launch. There was a CEO panel, and they mentioned this book. Tabitha mentioned this book she was reading, and it talked about this idea of sway. Given the nature of my role, I'm up early. We just hosted a pink walk, and I had to be out at 5 o'clock in the morning. It was early. Our annual meeting, I was there until 11:30 at night. So my hours can range early starts, late finishes, even the weekends. And so I found like that for me, kind of thinking about that sway, that it's not about these rigid boundaries, but rather it's about creating this flexible and adaptable balance between my work and personal life. Sometimes it's going to have to sway a little bit towards work, and sometimes I'm going to have to sway a little bit towards my personal life. And that's, you got to prioritize what comes first. And so to maintain a healthy balance, what I've been doing is I've been establishing those clear boundaries when my project demands it. Something that I've done in the last, especially after we've started talking about it on this panel, something something that I've been a little bit more mindful with is, my standard work hours are 7:30 in the morning to 4 o'clock at night. Once you hit 4 o'clock, my do not disturb on my Outlook pops up. It gets me in trouble because it's like, hey, Chelsea, are you sure you want to send this email? Because you're out of your work hours. I'm like, yes, I just got to send it so I don't have to work on the weekends. And so it's really important to be respectful of your time. And like I said, I love that you brought this up because when she said sway, I was like, that's exactly it. That's what work-life balance is. It's all about sway.
So I agree with that. It's your time is valuable, and I think people at the organization always need to be reminded of that. Has anyone ever just been double booked and you're like, how am I supposed to be two places at the same time? I feel like that happens to me almost every week, and it's our job to remind people at our organization that our time is valuable, and schedule your time and block off blank space. That's time for you to recharge. That's time for you to develop professionally. Maybe that's time for you to get more involved with your credit union and learn about involvement there. So keep your space, keep that block time off intentionally and stick to it. Uh, you're when you're working, you give 100%, but your job is not 100% of your life. We have to work with this work-life integration and take your kids to soccer practice, go to the dentist, like go for a run, whatever it takes. But we need to keep these things on the schedule and block it because we don't want burnout. This is how we prevent burnout. This is how we stay passionate about our job, our credit union, and the movement.
I know it's easier said than done. Um, but sometimes you got to take a step back and ask yourself, right, what steps am I taking to achieve a work-life balance if I don't have that right now? Right. And like for me, I'm trying to be very intentional about that. Blocking time in my calendar so I can train my staff and I can put trust in my staff to do things and just learn how to delegate. Is a huge part of work-life balance. Like there's a saying we have in my country, you work to live, not live to work. And we just have to remind ourselves that that is just so important. And what works for me sometimes is that I'm always inviting my family also to credit union events. Like they're coming to our annual meeting and they'll swing by the office and just have lunch with me. Um, and that's just a good way for me to just be able to see my family, spend some time with them, because that is the most important part of my life. Work to live, not live to work. And if you're having a difficult time doing that right now, just having a work-life balance, it's okay. As long as you are mindful and you are thinking about what steps can I take to achieve this. I may not have that right now, but I'm working towards it. And then when the time comes that I need to step away to do something, I'll be able to do those things because I've taken the necessary steps to achieve that.
Yeah, so when we think about work-life balance, I love to think about boundaries and not just boundaries with other people. I think of boundaries with myself because I find myself working later or just like Chelsea said, let me send this email, let me respond to this, let me do that. And I have to tell myself when it's getting dark outside, like, go home, Roger, go home. Because if you're burnt out, if you're pouring from a half empty or empty cup, you're no good to anybody. So I think that you be flexible when you can and you do sway. I agree with that. But you have to really tell yourself like, hey, like you're doing a good job. Maybe it can wait till tomorrow or later on because like I said, if you're no good, you're no good to your colleagues, you're no good to the employees, you're no good to the members. And that's what it's all about. So I think that just really taking that time for yourself and setting those boundaries with yourself is really important.
Ali, as we wrap up, before we turn it back over to you, I just want to thank you all for the opportunity, the panelists for what they have shared, all of the great knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that we've gotten from the conversation that's been had. Our hope and desire that the conversation doesn't stop here, right? We want to be able to avail ourselves to you and you to us so that we can continue to bring this collaborative thing together, right? And talk with like-minded people, right? And be on the same page with like-minded people as we depart from this place, right? So one of the things that I do want to encourage everyone to consider when you're thinking about work-life integration is to know your worth, right? Know your worth. And that comes with teaching other people how to handle you, teaching other people how to treat you, right? Oftentimes we allow people to determine how they're going to treat us. We have to start teaching people how they are to handle us, right? So I think that comes with setting those clear boundaries, like we've heard multiple times, making sure that we have those margins, like Linda mentioned yesterday, and making things non-negotiable, right? There's this idea of fit in versus fit around. I've gotten to the point in my life where I don't fit in self-care. I make everything else fit around self-care. So what that means is I'm intentional about this weekend. You're not going to have access to me because I'm not allowing it because this is a me weekend, right? I'm not going to allow you to be able to call me after certain hours because I placed a hard stop on when I'm not going to allow my phone to be accessible to work or whatever it is that takes away from your cup. And that leads me into the way that I want to close. Ali, again, I come back to Ali because Ali has given me so many opportunities and I'm so grateful to what you've allowed me to do and walk in professionally. At the Emerging Leaders Workshop, I think it was 2 years now ago in Greenville, she gave me the opportunity to speak in front of the emerging leaders. And one of the things I spoke from was the idea of, is your cup full? And what I really wanted to hammer home the point, I had the illustration and I keep these with me everywhere I go, right? So this is not just for today, like this is the thing that Micah does. So if you walk in my office, you always have to answer the question, is your cup full? And so my staff always ask me, what does that mean? What does that look like? And so I explain it like this. If you've got the 3 cups, you're the cup in the middle, right? And from the seat that you lead from, oftentimes we take from our cup and we do so much of this, pouring out, pouring out, pouring out into somebody else or to others, right? But what happens when this cup gets empty, right? Unfortunately, we continue to try to pour from that empty cup, right? And that leads to the burnout. That leads to the fatigue, that leads to the pain, that leads to the lack of desire of wanting to continue to pour as we're called to do in this movement, right? We are about people helping people. Therefore, the requirement, not the recommendation, is that we do pour out, right? But nobody talks about the importance of going back to that first cup or your source of fulfillment or your feeling to make sure that your cup is being full so that you can continue to pour out. And so I identify with staff, what is that for you, right? And I love, again, I keep picking on Linda, but she kept talking about margins. I'm like, what is your source of feeling, right? That's what she was speaking to, right? For me, it's my faith, right? It just comes out of me, but that's how I go and fill my cup back up, right? I spend time with him, right? I spend time with friends. I spend time with family, right? And I spend time watching the Washington Commanders, right? So again, that's how I'm sorry, any Dallas fans out there, but again, I'm sorry, any Dallas fans out there, but again, that's how I fill my cup back up. See, I've taken it a step further now. I go to get my cup filled back up, but I've got the little saucer below it because this is this idea of I don't fill it up just enough. Right now, I've gone to the point that I've tried to fill myself up so much that I start to overflow. Right. But now I've got the plate below the cup, right, so that it catches everything in the overflow. So now what I'm pouring from is my overflow, and now my cup is never getting empty. Right. So now as I'm pouring up, I'm still full, right? As I'm pouring out, I still have something to give back. As I'm pouring out, I'm still fulfilled in everything that I'm doing, and I don't feel myself getting burned out. So that's why I told you when it came to the passion and the purpose, right? I do believe that working in the credit union movement is my purpose and my life's work. I believe that I was made for a time such as this. So I had to understand that in order for me to be able to operate in what I'm called to do, I've got to make sure I've got everything and I'm equipped with everything I need to be able to carry out the mission, which is to be a mindset of people helping people. So again, if you always see me, I ask you to ask yourself, is your cup full, right? And then when you're pouring out, are you pouring from your reserves? Or are you pouring from the overflow? So again, ask yourself, when we think about work-life balance, when we think about work-life integration, is the cup full, right? And how many times have I gone back to the well to get my cup filled back up?
Well, I'll say a few words to wrap up, but I think we always try to open up to any questions you all may have. So thank you for wrapping us up with your powerful words, Micah. Those in the room might not know, but the CUXL Council, we meet monthly And we call Micah our spiritual leader. And I think you might know why at this point in time. So thank you again, not to just Micah, but all of you for, like I said at the beginning, being vulnerable and open and just willing to share your experiences and your insights and your tips to just not only be a great young professional, but be a great leader in our industry. So again, on behalf of myself and this panel of wonderful rising leaders, we thank everyone in the room today for being here, for hearing and accepting their messages, and most importantly, for taking this information back to your credit unions, to your colleagues, to your high potential employees, and your leaders, so that our credit unions can carry out successful successions and not only survive, but strive into the future. So thank you. Are there any questions? Oh.
Need to research that because I was thinking, I don't know the name of the book. I can't remember.
Oh, I'll get back to you on that. I'll get it.
I know it was a question that they asked, and I know I've written it down somewhere, but I can't recall it.
I can get that information for you. You had a question? Okay. Oh.
So the podcast that we listen to for imposter syndrome is called The Anxious Achiever. There's another one that we listen to called Think Fast and
Talk Smart.
Talk Smart.
Mhm.
And CU Insight is another one that we get a lot of our podcasts from. And I highly recommend everyone to check out the imposter syndrome one. It is extremely thought provoking. And there's a really interesting comment that she makes in there about becoming or being the banana. And so we often talk about, be the banana. I mean, even Micah told me, be the banana when I get up here. So I definitely recommend that podcast. Anxious Achiever, Think Fast, Talk Smart, and CU Insight. You're very welcome.
And another great podcast series that we've been listening to is Leading Up with Udemy, Udemy, Leading Up. That's a good one too. Anyone else? Alicia?
So I did cry when I lost our yard. So I went and think my loss. I kind of did so well. So thank you all.
Awesome.
I placed third when I did Protege, and I cried too because I had a video in it, and it was a huge part of my presentation, and the sound didn't work.
Soraya, I'm sorry.
And I was so frustrated up there, y'all. And I remember going down to Jason Lee and SMT and just being like, it didn't work, I'm gonna lose. And they were so supportive because at the end of the day, like I said, that was my baby. And that's probably why I cried because, you couldn't tell me that I wasn't the social media credit union master. But I thank you for saying that. And I'm glad to know, because at the end of it, I was like, I'm too old to be crying, but we shared that. So y'all do Protege if y'all get approached by your leadership. Do it.
But restart.
Yeah.
Was that was
here and we had 3 of our 5 presentations were on the same subject. And you would think that it was a bad thing, but I think that it hammered home to every single person present in that room that it was a topic that mattered. And I told them both years that I lost, I have never been so proud because the people who compete against me for the day are amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
What's the bigger Beyonce out?
He does not work for the credit union industry. That is my lovely husband, you all. I tell you, I'll get you a support system.
Yeah.
So, Renaissance was what I listened to when I was going through Protege, because that first song it was explicit, but it's these ain't stopping me. And I would say that these ain't stopping me. These ain't stopping me. And she talked about, being that girl. So if Dustin can tell you, if I didn't listen to Beyonce, if I didn't listen to that song that morning, my practice would be off. But just through that album, she just keeps encouraging and encouraging and encouraging. So like I said, when I listen to her, you can't mess with me. You can't mess up my day. So Renaissance is my favorite Beyonce album.
You had a question first.
English, but the only career that she has had here in the United States is in the financial industry. I have encouraged her to be a part of the CUsTogether mentorship program, and she's 7 years doing that. But she's also taking English classes, but in the professional sector, really that's helped her. That is such a great question, and I'm so glad you asked that. A great thing to do is I love when people are curious about my background and my culture. I love sharing new perspectives and new ideas. And I feel like when people have a genuine interest about who are you and where you come from and what brought you here, it is so encouraging. I would highly, highly recommend. Have you heard about NALCUP? So NALCUP is the National Association of Latino Credit Union and Professionals. So your credit union, depending on their asset size, you could purchase a membership, and that membership includes a ton of excellent development opportunities. They are getting ready to host, and they host webinars every single month, and on different topics that are oriented to the Latino and the Hispanic community. So I highly, highly recommend for her to check that out because it's a community that just supports you so much. And even taking it a step further, right? There are leadership programs specifically designed for Latino and Hispanic women in the industry. It is so amazing. They have executive coaching, plus their webinars every month. They have a mentorship program, and you get paired from not necessarily a leader that's in North Carolina, but all over the country. So it is amazing. I would highly, highly recommend for her to check that out. You're welcome.
Nick, if you could, I think we had one last hand for a question. All right, go for it.
All right. That's one question for all y'all. Y'all are all young, at very high up professional rate. What is suggestions for when you are the youngest person in the room, if you are trying to make that impression out to all of us, body of area or know it all, but you're in your, mid-20s, early 30s, and everyone around you has 10, 15 years of experience all. It's already intimidating enough to try to speak in that room. But how do you strike that balance, professionally as being, but yes, I know I've talked about, but I don't know more than or what, also which my words.
Great question.
Yeah, so I love that question. I'm gonna give you one of the biggest pieces of advice I just got, maybe end of last year. So it goes to what we heard yesterday from Linda: be authentic, right? And transparently. So I applied in my organization for 3 different what's called senior vice president roles in my organization at the same time. They opened at the same time. I didn't get any of them, right? But there was one denial that stood out the most. And she said, I saved your conversation last because I want to save you from yourself. And I didn't know what she was talking about. She said, you interviewed tremendously. You had everything buttoned up to a T. Everything was good. You had done your research, all of that. She said, but I wanted to see more of you. And she said, so often in the industry, she said, and I'm even reminded of myself when I was young in leadership, she said, oftentimes we try to shield that because we don't want people to think we're not ready for said position. She said, you're ready, but because you didn't show me who you were, I couldn't really see who I was calling on to be in said position. So my encouragement to you is to walk in the room and just be authentic. Right. So now when I walk in any room, I'm going to be unapologetically me. Right. I love The Notebook. I still cry when I watch it. Right. So that's me. I love a good chick flick. That's Micah. Right. I'll talk to you about it when we get done with the panel. But again, just walk in the room and be authentic. Right. Don't put too much thought into, all right, I need to shake the hand this way, or I need to look them in the eye this way, or I have to wear this suit, or I should put on this pocket square, or maybe not these socks, right? There's too much thought, right? So we talked about the mental health aspect, that stress that you don't realize you're putting on yourself, right? Just walk into the room and be you. Be bold, courageous, confident in who you are. If there's not a seat at the table, pull your chair up and make your own seat. So again, walk up to somebody and say, hey, I'm Micah, and leave it at that, right? But again, just be you, be unapologetically yourself. And since I had that conversation with her, it was just liberating. So again, another victory in defeat. But my encouragement to you, boss man, is just to be you. I can't stress it enough. And again, Linda mentioned, I'm just like, wow, like she's coming right down my front yard, So, but again, I don't think we can stress that enough. You have to be confident in just being you. And you will feel so liberated in doing that. So again, is what is it? Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. You are, just as you are, right? So again, remember that, be that, walk in that, step in that, and understand that that's enough. Yeah.
So, great answer.